Greyhawk Awakening has eclipsed LMA, even though LMA was first, because we've been more consistent with Greyhawk Awakening.
Yeah. You've had to go out of town on Wednesdays more often.
Well, yeah, so what I've done is I've really kind of worked my schedule as much around GHA, since that's our mainstream, and so LMA sometimes gets short shrift, but...
Quality, not quantity.
Well, yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. Come on.
So
if
Josh,
I'm silent at all in the stream, it is because I've become addicted because of John.
yeah, we're going to talk about the use of this as a gateway drug. That'll be a big topic. Let me give us a couple more minutes before we kick off live video. So we're going to go live with video in about 3 minutes. I want to just chat for a little bit on audio here. So Josh, you are going to be on the spot next week. Are you ready?
No. I literally texted you in a frenzy last night because I'm here working on Talespire stuff and wait, I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to stream D&D stuff. This is my first instance, and thankfully John was a very good sport and very caring guy. As yesterday I texted him and I was like, hey, so I actually wanted to bring in my 3 players from my upcoming campaign to be able to show them off to the Blue Box crew and crowd and see if they like them, and if they don't, then I'll just kill my players and bring in some different ones.
You mean PCs, right?
No.
I do the same thing, yes.
See, John does this all the time.
I know.
I'm very concerned.
Exactly.
Between the two of you, you're matchy-matchy. Maybe I should be afraid. It's the DM look.
But it's going to be really fun to have Mousetrapped on there as well as Gimbal. So Gimbal's, Rory's actually going to be the only guy on the whole stream.
Well, good. That'll be a fun stream.
That's
I like that.
Yeah. Do it.
I like that a lot. All right, so we're going to get started here in just a moment. Thank you to the folks who have joined us already. And we're going to have a brief session tonight. This is just a quick, about 1 hour, Loremaster's Arcanum. And you're joined by a great group tonight. We have Evelyn and Josh on with us, and we're going to dive into the tool. And I really want to make this interactive with the fans tonight. So often, and we try to keep interactive with the fans, but so often we get into great role play in both our Sunday and Tuesday nights. And as a DM, I never want to break the immersion, or at least I'm very cautious about doing it. Whereas a talk show like this tonight, there is no immersion. We can just have fun. So I want to really let the players, or the viewers rather, ask questions. Things they would like to see in the tool, things that they love about virtual tabletops, things they hate about virtual tabletops, whatever they really want to push on. I think it'd be a fun thing for us to talk about tonight. So,
amen.
All right.
Go.
We'll start off with mine. I did a couple tweaks, so I should be running my Talespire version in full 4K tonight, and I should not see any lagging. And I'm going to go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thanks everybody for joining us. And I see several people are already watching. I am joined tonight by the amazing Evelyn, who is a partner with me here in Blue Box. I saw her talent, her drive early on and said, oh, please come help me with this. And she has been amazing. And then, of course, tonight we have Josh from NPC Voices. He does Monster Monday. He's got his own streams. So I'm going to let them each introduce themselves and talk about the work that they do. And we'll then jump into Talespire tonight. So let's start with you, Josh. Tell us all about where they can find you on socials, what you're doing, why you're addicted to Talespire, the streams that you have. Drop any socials or creds in the chat you want. Go ahead, Josh.
All right. How's it going, folks? My name is Joshua Blake of NPC Voices. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Gmail, somewhere probably on MySpace. But I'm also about to have a huge eBay store update with all of these miniatures, all the way from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons up to 4th Age Dungeons and Dragons. But the campaigns that I have coming up is my Children of Dirt campaign. That's starting May 11th, I think, or May 12th. Wow, I should really know that date. And then I'm also on the Tuesday night Greyhawk Awakening stream as Brimstone, the half-ogre fighter. So hi, thank you guys for having me.
No, thanks for being on. Evelyn.
Hi guys, I'm Evelyn. I am theater EV everywhere on the internet. I am a prop maker and a painter and a doer of many other things. Yes, and I do once once things come back to the end of the school year on Terry's part, we do a podcast twice a week on his channel. That's at Machik ED on Twitch. We do one about World of Warcraft on Monday nights and one about D&D on Thursday nights. But the World of Warcraft one can be found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify right now. So Two Torn Tables is that podcast, and it's up, and there's like 11 episodes of that available right now to listen to. So that's where you can find me, as well as here on Blue Box every time we're live.
Every time, all the time. Also heavy in our Discord, and yeah, she is part and parcel of why we are growing here at Blue Box. And yeah, Josh and I, we don't like twinsies plan this stuff, but it just somehow works out. It did it Sunday, and we did it again tonight. Except I will point out, he's got the white lettering. I have the silver lettering, which is much, much nicer. So we can see about that when you come to Tennessee, Josh. Yes. Hey, Kayla, good to see you. All right, so before we jump into the topic tonight, which is this game-changing tool called Talespire. Hey, Retro, thank you so much for the sub. Let me move that alert box up where people can see it a little bit better. I'm always tweaking my views, and so sometimes they're not perfect. The tool we're talking about tonight, and it's all a precursor to the big night on the 28th, where we have the main execs from Bouncy Rock Talespire on with us, and we'll talk more about that in a second. We do want to highlight our sponsors, and so tonight we're not going to go through all of our sponsors. I'm trying to do more of a focused sponsor overview, and Mike Disney is the sponsor of the week. These cultists, and yes, they're hard to find now, you're right, Josh. These are the work of the amazing Mike Disney. Let me show you this view here. The artwork that he does with these, the incredible shading. He brings a realism. Thank you so much, Agent J1981, for the sub. He's I don't know, Mike. I can't. Evelyn, you've met Mike. How would you describe Mike? He's gorgeous, eclectic, odd, brilliant, talented. How do you describe Mike?
He is a mythical creature, and we love him.
I think that, well said, very articulately and erudite. Hey, thank you, Robert. We appreciate that. Robert, Phantom NJ, before I forget, because I forget all the time, we have a new feature on Blue Box called Friday Night Crusades, and they happen on Friday nights. And so this Friday, 2 nights from now, you will have Robert, Phantom NJ. He will be DMing a Castles and Crusades session on our Discord. And it's a low maintenance, low drama, low commitment. You don't have to be a regular viewer or player. All you got to do is show up on one Friday and work with Robert. We're using Castles and Crusades from Troll Lord Games, one of our sponsors. And there'll be fun sessions each Friday night. And you can check that out in our Discord, which I'm sure Evelyn has already popped in the chat by now. And you can join there. There's a Friday Night Crusades channel. And let's just say you're sitting around, you're bored. You got nothing to do. Hey, no social judgment. We're D&D players. Go ahead and jump in there, pop in. You can play a game on Friday night. It's not streamed. It's so low pressure. Just play D&D with friends, meet new people. Friday Night Crusades on Blue Box. All right, more Mike Disney. Look at this guy. I didn't show him on Sunday. This is a wicked-looking mini. The skulls. Look, I gotta get on the eye. Look at the eyes. I don't know how he does this stuff. He is just amazing. Here's another angle on this mini. So check out Mike Disney, support his Patreon. He streams many times during the week. Now he's an early riser, so you know if you're up in the U.S., after 9, you're not going to catch Mike because he's normally on around 6 a.m. Central Time in the U.S. And this is all Mike's work. And he's got some minis coming here for Blue Box that you will love. He's a fantastic, fantastic artist. Okay. Let's jump into it. As we talk about Talespire tonight, what I would really like to do is I would like to show the app itself. I want to run around some terrain, jump between scenes. I've got Tales Bazaar up. I want people to be able to see how easy it is to copy what Talespire calls a slab and build things out. And then we're going to try switching roles here somewhere midstream. It's probably going to be an epic fail, Hindenburg-style explosion. But we'll try it. Yes, now I got a bunch of people Googling Hindenburg. It should be a fun time to try it tonight. So let's start with the topic of VTTs. So Evelyn, I want to start with you because we've talked about VTTs. And by the way, I think I said it, but I will say again, Robert, thank you so much, man. You've gifted, I think, 15 subs in the last 2 days. We really, really appreciate that support. So as we pull up the screen here for Talespire, you know we've talked about VTTs on our Loremasters Arcanum. I think we've talked about them even in stream. Why, in your opinion, why am I actually now embracing a VTT, whereas previously I've been kind of, no thank you?
Well, for one thing, this is an entirely different sort of VTT than a lot of things that have been available before. It's not top down. It's 3-dimensional. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it, and it feels a little more like the real thing, like what we have on our table. And so having that as a secondary option to something that kind of feels like what our normal table looks like, it gives us an opportunity to jump back and forth between the two as needed, to kind of fill in the gaps that we might not have of things that we might not have available in the room when we're playing.
No, I think that's well said. Josh, any thoughts you have? Because you've heard us talk about this too.
Where to start? So we're going over the reason on why you really like it?
Yeah. So I'm not turning you loose yet. I'll turn you loose in a minute. I'm still keeping you constrained into what I. So why do you think? Because I've looked at Fantasy Grounds. I like it. It's a cool tool. I'm not throwing shade. I've looked at Roll20. I think those are good tools. There's other tools out there. So there is no shade coming from me for those tools. But I was still just saying they could not compete with the physical terrain and the 3D minis and the stuff that I have here. And I'm still saying they're not replacing these. But why all of a sudden now do you think I'm looking at this tool going, okay, it can play and be part of what I do here?
Because with Talespire, at least, there's growth. It's not just like you've got to stick with a certain scheme. Like, take Roll20, for example. You can't go 3D with it whatsoever. You can't, or if you can, I've never seen it. It's all more of your 2D up above. You go more Fantasy Grounds, you've got a bit more of that. But Talespire takes not only a 3D view, a buildable view of not just a set like, oh, this is your creature, or this is your building to place. This is something that you can build upon, and you can make a building out of another building. Or, I'm doing my best not to fly off and just start going on a 30-minute monologue, but there's just so much possibility with this app, which is the point of D&D, where in the other apps you felt more constrained.
All right, that's a good point. So William, Lord Forth, that's the oldest one in the book. They don't bury survivors. Come on, man. So yeah, I'm glad you don't need to Google it, Big Mac. So as we're getting started, I want to invite the chat, ask questions. Questions about the functionality of the tool, about how it works, or even about why we're using it here. Bring up concerns. Hey, if you think, because I think there are a couple concerns. I'll give you some of my own ideas about that in a moment, but I really want to engage the chat. So let's start with this whole concept of immersion. In the first 2 times I've used this, I think it's been a mixed bag of immersion because it's been a bit distracting. You know, we're learning this tool, getting people in for the first time, and when I'm using my minis, you guys aren't distracted at all. I'm moving them here. I've got my table. It's all set up. So as we move through this, do you really think that we can use this tool in a way that doesn't just create beautiful visuals for the viewers? Can we maintain immersion? I don't want this to become a break point in people feeling like they can do theater of mind. Like, I'm a huge theater of mind guy. I try to do lots of narrative descriptions. I'll never point at something like what you're seeing right now on the screen and say, you see that. Right? I'll always say, you know, lightning arcs across azure pillars with gold filigree across the tops, casting strange shadows against the walls. There's a macabre feeling, an ambience of death that surrounds you. That, and I didn't write that. I'll always try to describe that stuff in a way where the tool that you're looking at on the screen is only validating or expanding. It's the old picture being worth 1,000 words. And that's the same reason I use the minis and the terrain here. How can we use tools like this and keep immersion? Let me start this time with you, Evelyn.
I was going to say, well, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit before, but as a player myself, you know, the minis and the terrain and even Talespire, they're all nice things to like kind of get a sense of something, but I imagine something much different in my head a lot of the time than what we see either in Talespire or even on the table. Like it kind of gives the initial like structure, but what I imagine is a lot more than what I see physically, because in my head I'm there as that character in that moment, and so I see it through how she would see it.
So does that then, again, do you feel like even miniatures or terrain or tools like this interfere with your, and you know, your imagination might be better than mine, right? So, but do you feel it interferes with imagination?
No, I think it just like, it helps. It's kind of that framework. It's the skeleton that you kind of build the imagination on top of, you know, the description on top of. It's just all layers that enhance the final what you see in your head. And different players are not going to see the same things in their head at all, but this at least helps give us a frame of reference to kind of where we all are within this space and in the world that we're playing in.
Well, so I think that's a really good point, because I find for myself that I have a vivid imagination. I read fantasy books all the time. We've got a couple of questions I want to talk about in the chat in a second here, but still, what I find is my imagination will then take this input and layer on top of it. I don't find it's a distraction for me. I find it's an augmentation of my theater of mind. Josh,
Exactly.
How do you feel about it?
No, completely. Exactly what you guys are saying. My mind is it's like a teepee. It goes hand in hand and helps support one another. Like, for me, sometimes there are things within Theater of Mind, which I've been using most of my D&D time, is Theater of the Mind, and it's great, but like Evelyn or Vivi was saying, she might view something very differently than I or you would view it. And so me describing this scene, it's great, and they're like, okay, well, I want to go do this, and then the DM's confused, like, wait, no, I was saying that it looks like this. And the person was like, oh,
right,
okay, sorry, I couldn't see the scene, and I've run into that so many times as a DM. So having an actual, at least, framework or bones to the system to be able to look at, because they're like, I want to jump out the window. And I was like, oh, sorry, I meant the window was only like 6 feet high, or 6 inches high. You can't jump out of it. And they're like, well, freak, I wouldn't have done anything I just talked about if I had
and that's happened. I mean, many times that's happened.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think that's well said, Josh. So let me back up to the chat here real quick. So we had a question that came from Big Mac, TMM. Can you do Fog of War? All right, so 2 answers to that. 1, not yet. but it's coming. So that's answer 1. Fog of War is a critical component of the Talespire roadmap for their software. Now you do have the ability when you go to DM mode, DM mode here, you see these lines. You can actually click this button here and you can hide volumes. Josh showed this to me yesterday. So you can take and you can drag a volume and click a certain area and you can make that hidden to players. I'm not going to do that now, but that is a way you can hide certain areas. But the whole Fog of War concept, they have that. Remember, this is still in beta. They just got out of alpha. Chimera, this is why I'm so impressed. Like where they're at with this tool in a beta mode, early access, I was able to use it on my last 3 streams. I had 0 crashes. I had 0 real issues. A couple times I couldn't click minis or things, but like really not much at all. So the Fog of War is coming. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Time Lord's wife is here because the round thing in the middle of the room is the control room of her target. Yes, I know. We're always going to get Doctor Who comments here, especially when Kayla is in. Excel, yeah, I saw all your comments. Thank you so much. And yes, you are dead on. Let's see, Evelyn, anything else that jumped out to you?
No, I got excited because I love Doctor Who. It is literally.
Oh yeah, you and Kayla. Like, did you not know that about Kayla? You know, I mean, like
well, I got it from the name.
Yeah.
I got it from the handle.
yeah. She's they're huge into it. In fact, they were disappointed when they learned that Blue Box was not a reference to the telephone station. So I was so disappointed that they were disappointed.
It's about not playing for a while.
Yes, exactly. So miniatures can coalesce or centralize everyone on that. Well, that's why we do this. So now this is a good point for us to jump into, which is I want you guys to think about this. I'm going to go back to the chat after I say it. I want to throw out to you next the benefits of a VTT or minis when it comes to role play or general dialogue versus combat. Because there has been a lot of fair argument that these things are more useful in combat, to have the correct spatial angles and all of that, radiuses for spells, understanding where enemies are. So are they only immersive for combat, or can they also create more immersion for role play or general sort of player movement? While you're thinking, I'm going to look at I'll let one of you talk while I look at this chat, and Josh looks like he wants to say something. Go ahead, Josh.
Of course I have something.
Go ahead, Josh.
Talespire. I'm trying to get somehow sponsored by Talespire. I'm trying to become hand-in-hand lovers with Talespire.
Well, I tell you what, I'm already working on that with them, so I'll pull you in the fold, my friend.
Thank you. But let's take this example per se, because I'm a DM, so it's easier for me to go this way. Think about you're sitting in a tavern as the easiest way to go, and you're all there, and so you've got the layout in your mind, and I'm going through the mind tower, and I say, this individual walks into the room, and the very room itself darkens. And all eyes are pulled towards that figure wearing purple robes and pale skin. Dark hair that is pulled back as he scans the room, looking straight at your party as he will move towards you. That's great, and that's really, really cool. But like I was saying earlier, it can go hand in hand with the way of putting the actual tavern down. And the thing with Talespire is you can make environmental effects. So not only could you have this miniature enter the room, almost exactly the description that you just gave of this pale skin, of course, vampire-looking fella, but you can also click this environmental effect to darken the whole room. So it is just an incredibly cool experience, not only for your players to be like, wow, we're seeing that in your mind, but also seeing it on the table, just, oh, and everyone freaking out. Oh, I'm excited.
So I pulled up a scene here while you were talking, Josh, and I just showed like moving the environmental effect. I created a darker scene. The chat is blowing up here. The Time Lord's wife, the Doctor Who stuff is cool. Everyone loves British TV shows, right? Monster Minis. So that's another point I want to talk about here. And we talked about this, Evelyn, a few weeks ago when we talked about VTT versus minis, because I love the stuff I have, and I'm going to keep investing. I love my mini sponsors. I love my dice trays. So you can roll dice in this, and we talked about it. And I'm sure I will use this feature at some point, depending on the scenario. But I like the ability to actually roll physical dice. To me, physical dice are fun, and Let me drag this here. What am I doing wrong? There we go. Boom. There's my roll. It's going outside. There we go. My dice are falling on my outside of my view here. So these things are fun, but I like physical trays. I like physical minis. So my dice sponsors, and this is not, wow, I got to be careful. This is not driven by sponsors, right? I don't, that's not the point. The point is I like the tactile feeling. I like the bounce in the tray. I still like to paint. I've got some cool stuff from Ferox that I'm going to be showing next week because we're going to highlight our sponsor Ferox next week, and it's amazing stuff. But there is no doubt that the facility and speed with which I can deploy and transition terrain and minis can create a lot more immersion than simply the physical terrain alone. All right, so what's going on in the chat? Shane said he loves it when his players have their own minis no matter what. It's tactile. Yeah, okay, well, he just said exactly what I said. I still love a physical mini. These collections are proud. There is something about holding, look at this guy. He is from the Orc's Nest in London. This is a London mini from the Orc's Nest. He's got all the cool, just wicked, painted by some local painter there in the UK. I've got all the Mike Disney stuff. I still want to collect these. I still will use them. I gave a quick snapshot last night of some physical terrain I had here that we never got to. And yet, I can't deny the power of a three-dimensional tool like this that really creates visuals that are stunning and so easy to move around. When I'm playing with my cameras here, that can get distracting. If I want to highlight those vases, that takes me a minute to do with my cameras. I can do it here instantaneously. All right, so yes, Antiquitous, I completely agree. Derek, good to see you. Thank you, everybody, by the way, that supported Kayla last night. We had a great raid into Time Lord's Wife, and I know there was some chat that happened. She was very encouraged. Keep supporting the communities of the people that support us, and they're amazing. Yeah, the digital layout does help a lot. A mini is more important than a commissioned drawing. Well, I think maybe. I like both. So, I've got commissioned drawings from Frederica Draws. And to me, I remember even as I was a kid, I think the first time I had one of my dwarven fighters, and one of my friends who was good at art, he did something and put it on the front of my binder, like a binder. You saw how young I was, right? And it sparked my imagination so much. So I think, again, there is value in the physical, the three-dimensional. There is value in the two-dimensional artwork, and there is value in these three-dimensional VTT tools. All right, so I'm going to stop there while I keep looking at the chat. I'm sure Josh or Evelyn has something to say by now. One of you, go ahead and comment. Don't fight. Don't fight. You what?
I mean, one of the things that I'm still working with, like what he was talking about, how he could just highlight it on the table with the vases or the vases, however you say it. But one of the things you can do that I have not, in my 56 hours of playing since last Tuesday, Talespire, I still haven't gotten more into the hiding feature for GMs or DMs or the cutscene feature. I will not accept your lawsuit for addiction either. No. Yeah, I don't care if you spent 56 hours in a week. I am not at fault for that. I'll bring the lawsuit at BlueBoxCon.
I've already put in 20 hours, I think, so far.
Gosh, it's so good. It's just so good. But one of the other things that I'd love to highlight is what's really cool is, yes, you can roll dice on screen, but it also adds it all up for you, which for me, who is a very slow counter and not great with the analytical brain, rolling fireball damage is next to impossible. It will take me probably the next 10 minutes. Versus right now I have 8d6 counted up and I just rolled it. That's 24 damage right then and there. All right, so I hate that point, Josh. That is simply facilitating the miseducation of our youth. But move on. You heard it here first. All right. Well,
Josh
so real quick.
Not learning to math, right?
Yeah. I do not. Because D&D helped me with math, helped me with language, helped me with. So I don't want these things to diminish the ability of these fun games to. Sorry, Josh, that was mean. I shouldn't have said that. All right, real quick, we have some good stuff in the chat here. So yeah,
buy the whole dang game. The minis are cool. I agree. Okay, so Tim asked, are they using a game engine for the 3D? Yes, they're using the Unity engine. And I saw some, I believe that's correct. And the Unity engine actually has a brand new update for NVIDIA cards today that's going to be passed. I'm sure that, so they are using a core game engine for the tool. Oh, no, you're more than welcome. Sorry, I'm a little bit late on the chat, but you're more than welcome. Kayla, you can see the argument. Josh said, when it comes to the point where it is even as a pen and paper tabletop game anymore. With that said, when I first saw the vision, I was like, yeah, well, and look, I think, to me, a DM will have times where, even with this tool, with my minis, there's going to be pure theater of mind. You get to places, the players do things, you're not ready, or maybe it's just not worth it, or maybe you don't want the distraction. You have this compelling role play moment, and you'll see on my stream, I'll switch to that view where all you see is the players. Well, and their character cards kind of rotate, but it's basically just the players. And I think as a DM, it should still be P&P at the core, but even though I'm old school in my gaming philosophy, I don't believe in sticking my head in the sand when it comes to the technologies that can actually make these things better. And so that's my take on it. ¿Por qué no las dos? ¿Tienes dos? Porque quiero dos. Then let me see here. Oh, I love this one. Thank you, Antiquitous. So just think what you could have done with the pieces of the Gimbal storyline with these visuals. Now, I'm a little offended by that because I thought I created the most amazing 3D visuals. I think you're talking about the funeral, the resurrection ceremony, rather, for Gimbal. But now you're right. There could have been wicked stuff done with this. All right. So Big Mac said this sort of 3D might be more, so okay, that's a great point, and that's exactly where I was going a moment ago. Evelyn, we talked about this with all VTTs. You can recount for people what we discussed as it relates to VTTs versus all the physical terrain stuff that people like me or Jay or Nighthawk Gaming or others have when it comes to accessibility.
Well, I mean, that was forever ago, but I mean, it's this difference of cost and accessibility as far as when a DM has physical terrain that they use, there's not usually an additional cost for the players to experience that, where with some virtual tabletops you actually have to, your players have to buy a pass to use it. That's not the case for all of them. Some of them are where the DM hosts it, and so in a world where most of your gaming is happening remotely, it's a very big benefit to have all of these various virtual tabletop options coming up, because it allows people to play together that might not be able to play in real life, and that it kind of changes the scope of what your parties would necessarily be able to be. I mean, some of my best friends don't live in Nashville, and so I wouldn't get to do things with them if the virtual, if the internet wasn't an option a lot of times. So it allows another level of accessibility to people who might not be able to play in person. But yeah, it is a trade-off of cost. Where a lot of VTTs, it's a one-time cost. With actual terrain, you'll buy in various pieces until you have whatever you want. So it's just kind of, there are pros and cons to every aspect, and some people prefer that tactile experience, and especially when you are playing in the same room, it's really fun to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm sorry to be cut you, but I want to interrupt just quickly. I'm gonna let you go back, because I think it is different for me. I'm seeing the difference between doing it on Sunday with everyone in the room. I think I have to handle it differently than I'm doing it on Tuesday with people that are spread all over the globe.
But yeah, I was coming to the conclusion of my point. But
okay, all right, yeah. So I didn't actually interrupt you. I just put the punctuation mark. Okay, good. So, hey, some great stuff in here. So, frame art, showcase it next to the mini. That's a good idea. So we already talked about a lot of minis, and with the minis, it's not just accessibility, it's cost, it's storage. And if you've got it, then do it. I love this stuff. I will continue to invest in these. Someone asked later, let me find it here. They asked if I'm going to do a VTT sort of flat screen and put minis on it. I don't really want to do that. I'm going to still, if you look at, I don't think I have the right camera view here. I can do it on my normal Tuesday night streams, but I have a whole table here. Here I can rotate this around. So these cameras, I've got 5 4K cameras in the room. I've got this table, which I'm rotating here, but I got a thing on it, so it's not going to rotate very well. So I will continue to use this, and then I'll have alternate scenes. So I'll have certain scenes that I show physically, and it's a click of a button for me in slobs. So slobs, take me to the physical terrain. Slobs, take me to Talespire. And I can do both, and I think that's going to be a fun angle for us to have on the show.
And I would say for the benefit of the VTT, especially for our Tuesday group, is the immediacy of the reaction to what's going on in combat, particularly because with the way that we run things, we use the physical minis and terrain, and that's great, and I love that, and it's fabulous, but it also causes a slight delay in between us, what we see on Twitch, to what you're trying to show us, whereas within the VTT, now we can immediately see, okay, I can move here, I can move there, I can do this, that immediately, and that allows us more of the reaction time that I'm used to when we're playing in person in the Sunday games.
Yeah, and that was a point I was going to get to later, but I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the critical things that we bump into here on Blue Box, especially on Tuesday nights, because you're all remote and you're trying to watch Twitch. And I talked about this a little bit over the weekend. You basically, at least as I've seen it, and I'm getting behind on the chat because the chat is blowing up, so I want to make sure I stay on it. But you have 2 options. One, you let your players watch on Twitch. That means they get that 2 to 3 second lag. Now that messes you up, whether it's a ruler or a laser or whatever you're doing. I got that all the time where they're looking at me and they're going, so what was that again? So where was that again? Was it this one or that one? And that to me is the number one way to break immersion, right? I really want the players to stay connected to the narrative. Now, the other way to do it is to stream it. Thank you, Time Lord's wife. We appreciate that, Kayla, so much.
All advantages for Brim.
Yeah, no, those were all DM. She's a DM, so those are all DM advantages. The other way to do it then is to stream it through Zoom. So you actually make your cam for the battle cam a Zoom cam, but that steps on the resolution so poorly, so now it doesn't look the same anymore. This tool gives you something where my players are seeing the same thing the fans are seeing, the same things that I am seeing, 3-dimensionally, real time at full resolution, which I love. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Excel. Talespire is a lot smaller than cabinets and shelves of minis, but I want to be clear. I still want cabinets of shelves and minis. There's still going to be many more minis hitting these walls. It is a different experience. I think this is the main thing. If I were to boil this down, I am not comparing Talespire to physical minis and terrain. Mm-hmm. I love physical minis and terrain. I am saying when it goes to the purpose of a VTT, it crushes every other VTT that has ever lived. And that is why I am using this tool now as an augmentation, not a replacement for this physical trade. Now, that's because I'm invested, I love this stuff, and this is what I like. If you only want to be digital, fine. You will not find a better tool than this. But if you are someone that loves the physical stuff, loves the tactile, true physical 3-dimensional, if you got players often that are in your room, or if you're Nightheart Gaming with these sick dioramas that they have that are just unbelievable with their angles and views, this is not to replace that. This is something new, something we've never seen before. All right.
Well, and it's the one thing that feels the closest to the actual thing. When you're building with the pieces, they have weight, they have substance. They have done such a good job creating these terrain and mini pieces to actually feel like real terrain and mini pieces, which makes it just like so close to the real thing and so good.
No. Very. So I'm gonna go ahead and I want to do something here real quick. I'll make sure I have what minis do I have in here. I don't have. Yeah. So this is my Sunday campaign, so that wouldn't be good. Let me go to the Tuesday campaign. I want to answer. Kayla has a great question. So we're going to the Twisted Forest. I love this example because the Twisted Forest in Greyhawk. This is in the Pomage, and that's morning. Let me go back to some of our. I'm going to kill some of the fog of war, or probably the fog effect view rather, and let me get to a more pleasant sort of sky view. Now you can kind of see. Now here's one of the examples of building terrain in the Pomage, in the Twisted Forest. The reality is that most of the quote-unquote trees in the forest are not trees at all. They are statues. They are the frozen, entombed in stone corpses of humanoid creatures. So you should have statues everywhere. Well, if I'm building my tabletop terrain here, I think I have 4 statues. Now, so am I going to go out and buy 35 statues to build a scene like this? No, I'm not. I can do this in Talespire, and then I can, again, have other scenes that I augment. So let me show Kayla. She asked a question, does every player get their view? So if you guys are ready, I'm going to summon you to this board.
Nope. Hold on.
All right.
Nope, me
I
neither.
gotta open up the game.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I gotta go back to my own.
So Kayla, what I'm showing on my stream is the DM view. Yes, to your question, every player, they can see the view. And this is something I want to talk to the Bouncy Rock team from Talespire about, because I'd really like the ability to lock the players into views which are eye level with their minis. Because I really don't want players to be able to scan up and move and look around, because that's not realistic with what they would be doing. If they want to see like a panoramic scene, they're going to see it when I scan out on it with my GM view. But I don't want them to have that functionality. But I do like the fact that if they want to look at the giant, if they want to look at, so let me summon the players here. All right, you are summoned. Brim is already in. All right, so. And you don't have to worry about Evelyn if Brim's already in.
Oh,
Which
I was in, so.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So Brim. So you can see Brim now, that's Josh moving that mini. And Josh, go ahead and slide that mini around somewhere. There you go. So you can see he's moving that miniature. He has that control. Now what I'm telling my players is stay in the general area that I'm showing you on screen. If you're going to move outside this area, ask me. I'm asking them stay sort of eye level. So it's a bit of an honor system now. And I think this will be another stage of development with the tool where you can actually lock that down and make it where they can only see what their actual character could see based on their eye level view. That was a great question, Kayla. All right, so let's see here. Extort.
One of the things I've found that I think I might start doing is you see there's a little like circle on your screen to show what level you're on. What I've been doing is I've been keeping that circle in the center of my figure and then looking around from there.
Yep.
Okay, and so, well, that's a more sort of practical, but how do you do that?
Oh, that's just, I usually just go over and hover it over. It's not like...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha, okay. All right, so this is another thing, switching boards. So I don't know how visible that is on the Twitch thing, but it's so quick to move from the Twisted Forest, which, as I've said, would be a very difficult thing to give a nice replication of on a table. I would have to spend money and hours to get something that looked like this on my table. But then if I'm suddenly going to switch to a mountain path, it's just that quick. And now I've got a mountain path view. I can have, and you can see I can move layers and move there. Here's a campfire inside a mountain overhang. It's just that easy to switch around. And I think this is what's going to make it easier for all GMs and players, especially if you don't have minis in terrain at all. This is a no-brainer. But if you do have minis in terrain, don't look at this as a threat. Look at this as an ally, because I think it will really help. All right, so, but paper, stay off my lawn. Exactly. All right, Tim said, I think there will be a challenge to keep the game toy from being a crutch. Yes, but that's always the case. Like Tim, you even mentioned to me that sometimes you don't like to focus as much on minis and terrain as Jay and I do, or as Nightheart does. And there are people out there that you just want to go pure theater of mind. And you know what? if I had to choose between any of these options, no theater of mind, just what you see with VTT, or just what you see with physical minis and terrain, or pure TOM, I would choose pure TOM. That is DMing, that is playing D&D. If you can't describe narratives, if you're not expanding your imagination, to me, you're not really, to me, okay? I'm like, this is no judgment, but to me, you're not really playing D&D. So these things, and this is what a good DM has to watch, don't use them as a crutch. You watch Tim when he DMs, he tells great stories. He'll have 2 or 3 maps drawn out, like 2D maps, and you still have a great time playing that. So you don't need any of this to play D&D. I'll mention I was on the 2DMs podcast with Rory. He plays Gimbal, and with Alcott. Thomas plays Alcott in our stream. Nope, I was right the first time. Rory plays Gimbal on our stream, and he had the 2DMs podcast, and he had me on with his former partner. Now, they don't run that podcast anymore. And the partner issued a challenge. He said, I would like any DM that works with minis and VTTs to try running a game with pure theater of mind if they haven't done it in a while. And I love that he asked me that, because the reality was I had just been on vacation with my family, and we had played TOM in our camper trailer, so I think you should always have TOM. Josh, you're the youngest. Well, like, you're like one of the youngest ever anywhere. Like, you're like Josh just turned 12. He gets
getting younger every time.
He gets younger every time I stream. He's 23. He's 23. And Josh, talk to me about, because you were raised with minis, VTTs, and RPG Scribe, and D&D Beyond. These are part of the world you grew up with. Where do you see those jiving with theater of mind?
So personally, it's very funny. I use D&D Beyond as sources and less as character creation stuff. I love, I keep seeing in the chat all these pencil and paper. I'm gonna stay with pencil and paper. I agree.
They're not saying, don't put that curmudgeonly tone on my fans. That's not what they're saying.
There's a lot of exclamation points in there. But no, I'm the same way. I would much rather, I have all of these bins. I don't have a significant other. Why? Because I have all this miniatures and stuff to buy. I don't have enough money. I need more miniatures. But the thing is I do see VTTs replacing a lot of these things, because a lot of people don't want to have that commitment. They don't want to be buying in that much to D&D. Or if they're not as committed, then yeah, that's the route they're going. But for the people like me, you, Evelyn, everyone else, everyone in the chat, all these, I need to talk to you about TOS.
No, I'm sorry, the chat. I'm failing with the chat tonight because it's moving too fast. Kayla is blown away that you're 23. We all are. Yeah, I know. He did have a beard of a 35-year-old man before, Derek. You're exactly right. Kayla asked to see more of the shadows. Yes. That's one of the cool things you can do with the effects. So, if the party is camping here, I can just slowly move the angle of the shadow around, and it can create some very different effects. That's the angle of the sun. That's not even where the sun is at in the sky. So now this is how I move, day to night. It's like you have, and you can change your exposure level. So if you want night to be a little bit brighter, where it still has the hue of night but is visible, and that makes your campfire look gorgeous. And this is not distracting to me. Did you see what I just did? I talked to you. I talked about, I could be describing a scene as a DM. I'm not breaking immersion, and I can just do it that easily. And yes, Josh is 23. Let me see here. What else did I miss in the chat? Yes, it was like I was calling out my kids. That is true. Yes, we'll talk about TOS later. Get off my lawn. That's the curmudgeonly response, Robert. Exactly.
Yeah, but off of that final point of just being for me, I'm going to be using Talespire with this upcoming campaign that I'm running entirely because none of them are in person. And I was freaking out myself on how I was going to make John has all these amazing looks and camera work and all that. I had no idea with my small room and with me moving how I'd make that happen, all these different things. And so whenever it's going to be remote games, I'm most likely going to be using Talespire. But if it's ever going to be in person, heck no. I'm doing physical minis. I want to be able to throw stuff at my players. I need to be able to stab them a few times with real swords. Like, you need physical stuff for real pain and real just in-depthness. But I think Theater of the Mind is always the way to go, going all the way back to the very beginning. ADHD.
It's a miracle we survived your one shot, honestly. Like.
Okay, so real quick here, because I want to dive into a couple more questions, but I want to make sure while we have sort of the higher level viewers here before Jay gets ready to kick off. Jay and I are both working together to drive a huge audience. So next week, next Wednesday, there is no LMA. There will be a special Tuesday one-shot with Josh. I'm traveling on business, but Blue Box will be live on Tuesday. You will not want to miss Josh DMing on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, there's no LMA. Then we'll come back with our regular schedule. You'll have your Rune Lords group on Sunday. And then on the 27th, you'll have your normal Greyhawk Awakening. Well, it won't be normal, but it'll be your regularly scheduled Greyhawk Awakening session. But mark your calendar, all of you, please. April 28th at 5 p.m. So we're starting early. It's going to be a special 2-hour LMA. We're going to raid right into Jay afterwards. I have the leadership executives from the Talespire group. Johnny Ree, he was the founder. Chris Baggers, lead developer. Jason Roy, he's sort of in charge of, he's like a VP or over marketing and client relationships. They're going to be on with us for 2 hours. This is such an exciting thing for Blue Box to have these guys on. I will be giving away free Talespire licenses. I will also give away, and this is to one of the questions someone asked up earlier, can you share boards? Oh my gosh, can you share boards? Do you think I created all the things I showed you by myself? I don't have time. No, I can't. So I'm going to show you how freaking easy this is. This is one of the things that sold me on this tool. If I could, so anyway, mark that on your calendar. If I could share these visuals or make these visuals, but it took me 12 hours to create them, if I had to go through the effort to actually create something like, and I showed this earlier, let me go to a different scene I haven't shown yet. Let me go to the Rocky Forest. All right, so if I had to create something like this on my own, and that's the only way I could get it, I would not have time to do this. With Talespire, they have what they call slabs. And these slabs, many of them are free, publicly available on Tales Bazaar. So, I'm going to show you how to do this right now, live on the camera here. I want to show you how easy this is. There will be paywalls or Patreons for your most advanced creators. And I'm already talking to a guy named Demongund or Demongund, however he pronounces it. He made that Castle Ravenloft, Curse of Strahd video that I showed on Tuesday night. He is one of the most advanced builders I've ever seen. He's going to spend 70, 80 hours on a single build, which is something I don't have time to do. So that is part of the really fun element of this tool, that they've made it so easy to build and create things and then share them like this. All right, so let me pick a board just so I can show everyone this. Let me go to my Taverns board. It's kind of a wide open board. I've got 3 different taverns here. Let me kill the music so it's not overriding the other stuff we have. All right, so the tavern we're in here, I love this one for a couple of reasons. One, it's got great sight lines, so all kinds of wide views I can have. I can move around. Let me put the roof back on there. I can move around easily. I've got my bard here who's singing up at the bar. You can place your minis. You can come over here. The party walks out. Again, this is not hard. I can be talking to you. I can open the doors as I'm describing the scene and what they see outside. I've got the fireplace here with Sheriff Hemlock. There's an upper level to this that was built out. So that's one reason I love this. Do you know the other reason I love this, Evelyn?
I don't know.
Because it was made by Evelyn. So Evelyn, brand new to Talespire, she created the Rusty Dragon Tavern for me. This entire tavern structure she created within 2 days of getting access to this tool. And I featured it on my stream on Sunday. It is just amazing how quickly people can learn. Oh, you're talking to the guy at the bar? Boom, he's right there. Oh, there's somebody making noise over there. You pivot. This guy's a little bit inebriated. This guy right here, he looks pretty upset. Oh, wow, the bard's really doing a great job, and he's got some drunk guy behind him with a mug. I can move around and describe these scenes so quickly and so easily. Now, when I scroll out, I have some other taverns. I did not make a single one of these. I don't have time. I don't have, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you get a slab. So let me pull up here, and Evelyn, if you can keep track of the chat, because I'm focused on this now and I know I'm missing a lot.
I'm seeing it.
All right, so, oh, by the way, if you haven't already, reminder, you can sign up for Blue Box Con. This is our new Blue Box website. This is V1. Thank you, Honeybee Crafter. The amazing Danny made this. You can sign up. The signups are going quickly. You click, you say buy now, but they're free. You just got to be willing to get here to Tennessee. So I'm in Middle Tennessee. We're going to have all kinds of fun games. We'll have multiple, probably like 5 or 6 D&D tables running simultaneously. We're going to have mini painting, 3D printing. We're going to go to the Renaissance Festival, which is 10 minutes from my house. It's an amazing Renfen right here. So if you go to this site, which I'm sure Evelyn can pop in the chat if she's not too busy reading.
Let me see if I have.
And you have access to all that. And we're gonna feed you. I mean, not like every single meal if you're here for 4 days, right? But we're gonna have food. We're gonna have all kinds of giveaways and swag bags. We just want, and it's all because I'm getting old. This is my 50th birthday that we're celebrating, or mourning, I guess, is the better way to put it. Yeah, it's my 30th. That's right. All right. So
gotcha.
let me show you. This is Tales Bazaar. Make sure everybody can see that. So Tales Bazaar, it's talesbazaar.com. And by the way, the Talespire early access should be kicking off on Steam today, or it might happen tomorrow because technical glitches with that stuff kicking off. It's like $25 for the whole license. It's a one-time fee.
Right.
This is not like, and I love Sirenscape, I use it, but you're not paying every month for this tool. It is simply a one-time 20-something bucks. And by the way, I'm not sponsored by them. I'm only doing this because I think it's frickin' awesome. There's no money in this for me. I just want to share this with the D&D community because I think it can really help all of us tell great stories and get more people into the game, especially as your Gen Z, and I guess they're going to call the next one Gen A, whatever they're calling it, as these young people who were raised with digital technology. You need these tools not just to tell great stories, but to pull in other generations of D&D players, which is what we're all about here at Blue Box. So you can see popular slabs, assets. You can sort by author. I've already pulled up one of the authors I follow, Estrali Astra. He actually has a lot of Demon Goon stuff on his site. I've not even looked at this yet, but I just saw it. I saw this thumbnail. I thought this looked awesome. So he's got something new posted here, which is the terrifying Von Buru Manor. All I do, watch this. This is unbelievable. All I do is click copy. Okay? It's free. I click copy. I go to my Talespire board here. I click Control V, and boom. I have this entire manor. I left click it to place it. I click escape so I don't place it a second time. And boom, I have this whole manor here built out. And you can see here I play with this slider because this shows you like the roofs. You can take the roofs off and all that. But now I walk through and I'm inside this manor. I can open the doors of the manor. It's absolutely incredible how easy they have made this. Sorry, what am I missing?
Josh's face.
It's like, yeah. No, I'm gonna get with Talespire. I'm gonna make them license the Josh face, and I want a commission on it because
a emote for the Talespire channel.
So like you can remove levels. So if you really want to focus on this lower, you want an isometric 3D view, like top down. Look at that. Look how I did none of this. Do you guys see this? I did nothing. I literally copied and pasted from someone that posted this work for free. Unbelievable. All right, I gotta chill. I'm sorry. It just, I'm so excited about not just the tool itself, but the community, people creating content, how easy it is to share content, to create these beautiful visuals and these beautiful worlds in a way that allows the DM to maintain immersion, because I'm not distracted while I'm doing this stuff. It is easy to do. All right, we gotta close up here in a second, get ready to raid Jay. Evelyn, Josh, any other comments you guys would like to make?
Freaking love it! Freaking love it!
Okay, something useful. Oh, by the way, so like I want to show you a more, so like maybe that's all too fancy for you. You want a more traditional sort of, here's a dungeon, just a simple dungeon. And you want something like this where you can just show, and when the fog of war is available, it's going to make it even easier. But I can have this, I can put it in a top-down isometric view, and I think a dungeon should look a little scarier, so let me bring this to maybe like a nighttime scene, just that easy. And I want the shadows to come from this direction so they cast long. And now I've just taken that and look at that. Look how easy that is. Now I have this, I guess it's the boxing ring. I don't know what that is. And then I can scroll back out and I can come back. Oh, you go to this room, and now in this room you see these things, and we got this on the wall, and there's the stone table. And I'm not even good at this. I don't play Fortnite, everybody. So like I'm not the fastest in the world with all these mouse keys. I'm almost 50 and I don't play Fortnite, and I can still use this thing and make it kind of be cool. All right, so let me see. Let's see the ceiling. Okay, well, there's no ceiling on this one. Sorry, Lord Forth. I'll have to go. Like, you can build ceilings or not build ceilings. Let me see what else we have here. Can you have vehicles like ships? Okay, so they have. Let me show you their assets real quick. And we're not going to be getting into this detail on the 28th. So the 28th will not be a repeat of what we're doing tonight. On the 28th, I want to talk to the team about concepts, about vision. They've got some cool origin stories. It's going to be more sort of D&D and telling stories with D&D and using the tool, the vision for the tool. Tonight is more jump in there and pull some levers and see what happens. So you have some items like tents and whatnot, but you got to remember, this stuff is going to explode in terms of content. Thank you very much for the sub, Furious320. So what you see today in terms of building, dungeons and all these, I'm in 4K here, so I don't know how easy this is for you to see because it gets pretty small. But they don't have things like ships yet or wagons. Now, some of your builders, let me go back up, hold on. And this will be the last thing I show before I get ready to raid Jay. And then, thank you, Speaking Beast. Let's go. 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. So let me answer the question that was about vehicles. Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, I'm watching the chat. Who has John's meds? John doesn't have any meds. John just loves D&D, and he geeks out on D&D. I'm sorry, it's just... I started playing when I was 7 years old, and I'm still as excited at 49. So there you go. As I've said, it's the game that ever presents wonder. I've gotten tired of every other game I've played. I never get tired of D&D.
Yeah, seriously, same thing. Like, I can't really play video games anymore.
Dude, you're 23. That means nothing to us. I'm teasing, Josh. I'm teasing. No, I'm teasing. No, like video games, I try to play them, and I still do sometimes, but there is nothing like D&D. Okay. So here, let's go back to the Tales Bazaar, and I think what I've seen so far with ships is not very good because they don't have the assets yet in there that work well for ships. But we can still look. Some people have tried. So you can see here's some examples of different ships that people have built, and they're using these polys, which they're sort of square, 45 degrees. So here's a good example. Let's look at this one. Let's just grab it. Again, I'm showing how easy this is. I'm going to take this ship. It doesn't look too bad. And then I'm going to go back to my slab for taverns because I have a lot of water beside those taverns. And I'm going to plop this ship down. And you'll see it's doable, but it doesn't look great yet. But remember, again, this is early beta, early access. So they're going to build assets. They'll have whole vessels, I'm sure, that will be available. And so this is a ship someone created using the assets that are here now. So, does this compete with some of the stuff I have here? Absolutely not. But are they going to get there? Oh, you better believe they will. All right, so lest anyone ask where my meds are again, let me jump back out and let's talk as we conclude. Any final thoughts from my amazing co-hosts here, Evelyn and Josh? And by the way, Josh, like I said, on the 28th, I'm going to put you on the spot. You're going to be pulling the levers on Talespire while I am doing all the mod and the talking to these amazing executives from Bouncy Rock.
Great.
No pressure or anything.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure.
It's fine.
No pressure.
Yeah, after this call, I definitely want to show you guys the temple that I built, but not for the viewers just yet. I might show that off on the 28th.
Ooh, way to tease it. Way to tease it.
On your stream.
Yes, the temple I finally finished yesterday.
Yes. Awesome. I'm excited.
Obsidian said, I secretly play Fortnite under the pseudonym One Young Skater Stud. I love that. Okay, creature assets. Let me just show a couple of these really quickly. I think I showed some, but you drop here, you go here to creatures. They have very limited creature assets thus far. So that's going to be another big build out. But let's say, for example, I want a monstrous creature. I've got this guy. I can do something like this guy.
The Kraken's also really cool.
Do I have the Where's
Yeah,
is that an what is that? An Audiog? No, what is that? I don't know what that is. That's crazy looking. Oh, the mimic.
Like
look at the mimic. All right, so there's just some examples of creature assets, and they don't have a lot yet. But again, these are going to get built out like crazy. And then so you got this cool mimic, and when you get close to them, they hold up to the test. The visuals are very nice. So there are some examples of some creature asset. Let's see here. The scene was impressive. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked the Etten scene in the last session. I thought it was pretty cool, Josh. And then Big Mac. Now I just need to work on where to put the spell jamming helms. Well, don't think they're not going to go there too. They will. They're going to do that stuff, I'm sure. Umber Hulks. No, too soon. Too soon.
Oh,
yeah, we're not talking about
excited
Umber
for
Hulks
Umber
tonight.
Hulk.
No, that is not lice.
I'm not.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So what did I forget, Evelyn? I'm sure I forgot something I should have talked about tonight.
What?
I've said, what did I forget to talk about? I'm sure there's something.
If you're watching and you're liking what you're seeing.
You're right. Okay. So if you're, Josh, you go ahead and do it.
No, I'm not as good at it.
No, you are.
If you're watching and you're seeing us and you're really liking what you're seeing, but you're not following, we have just one simple itty bitty question for you. What are you doing? Come on, go ahead and follow.
Give us a follow, give us a sub here at Blue Box, and that is also a big thank you to all of our fans. Great support tonight. A fun stream. Thank you for the chat. I'm going to start doing something. I've talked to Evelyn about this. I'm going to start exporting the chat and going back through questions I missed because it moves so fast, but I want everyone to stay engaged with chat because it's one of my favorite parts of streaming on Twitch. So now we're going to go ahead and do a raid, and of course, I don't need to ask who we are raiding tonight. We are always on Wednesdays raiding the Lord Guzumba. And so, now tune into a channel which will contradict everything I just said about virtual tabletop because he has the most epic physical tabletop anybody has anywhere, and we're going to raid him in 10 seconds. Join us on Sunday for Rune Lords at 1:30. Join us next week on Tuesday night for a special one-shot with Josh. And then our regular Blue Box schedule resumes the following week, except nothing is regular about the 28th when we have the executives from Talespire joining us. All kinds of fun stuff on Blue Box happening. And the raid is gone. Love you guys.